I'm Dana,
And I'm Amber.
and we are Moms on the Mind.
We are two moms, one special educator,
One child psychiatrist.
and we are here to talk all things mental health, education, and parenting.
For people that look like us.
Okay, so we're going to start off with the mommy meltdown.
Ooh, girl, give it to me. What you got this week, Amber?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so back to school started, right? So everybody, first day of school, era was this week. And my oldest is in third grade.
He's
And he's in third grade. But
oh,
here's
girl,
the
crowd.
thing.
This mommy son thing, this connection.
Okay, but here's the thing. Everybody probably looking like third grade. Girl, she ain't used to this already. But here's the thing. He used to come to school with me because I'm an educator, a diagnostician, so I worked in the school.
Yeah.
So he came to school with me since kindergarten. So like we were together all day, every day. I mean, we went to school together. Kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and this is the first year.
So who got separation anxiety? You or him?
Me, because he said, I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna take him the first day, and then his dad's gonna take him the other days. But no, guess who he wanted to take him the first day? His dad.
Oh, burn, girl.
So it really was my meltdown, like full blown crying. Of course, not in front of him, but like today, it just hit me. And I was like, oh my God. I don't know.
So you in the car, snotting up and crying and everything.
I was.
Oh.
What's your mommy meltdown? Because I can't be the only one that had one today.
Today, let me see how many I had. Let me pick a good one for the week, child. Let me pick a good one. Let me see. I would say it was probably about 2 days ago, right? I was with recording. Sorry.
This is real live Moms on Mind.
Real live. Like, don't you come here with that husband. Don't say nothing bad. But I was it was after work. I had come home, and what had happened, I had gotten a couple of messages from work. And so when I come home, it was my day to pick up the kids. I picked up the kids. Right when you get home, I got to have dinner for my kids. Like,
right.
If I wait, honey, they gonna raid that snack cabinet, and it's a wrap. Like, we not eating no dinner. Yep. We going to bed with junk food. So I'm trying to get the meals. They running around crazy because I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So it's just pandemonium in my house, at any moment. And so they're running around. I'm getting messages. Then one is pulling on my leg. The other one asking what her food is. The phone going off. Then the other one goes, well, Mommy, you're always on the phone. Girl, I could feel like my neck going on fire. Like, I feel like the hairs, all the braids was going to be standing up. Like I got an electric socket. And so I just like, ah! And they both looked at me like,
what is wrong with Mommy?
Girl, I said, you know what? Mommy gonna need to take a little time out. Y'all sit here and play with these Legos. And I literally went back to my room, took like 5 breaths, and then I think I look, I didn't even tell you this. I text you, I said, I'm turning off my phone for 2 hours.
Oh, that's why I got that text. Okay.
Girl, I had to let Amber know because we talk all the time. I'm turning my phone for 2 hours. Do not disturb. I turned that phone off, girl, and then I just had to recenter myself and go back in, apologize to the kids, and be like, Mommy had a real rough day at work today. I had a lot of stuff that happened. And on this particular day, I did have a rough day because we had just a negative outcome at work, and I just felt really bad about it. And so I felt like I was so frustrated from that. And then they were just so demanding at the time. And I just like, and so I apologized. We got dinner. I got them to bed on time.
Look at you. And that was good for you to do like the reset, like to just realize, okay, I'm yelling, or my voice is getting a little too high, and the kids are wondering what's wrong with me. So I got to reset.
I mean, I feel like a bad mom, but you know, I feel like I read an extra book that night, and then like that changed everything.
You made up for it.
You good again, girl.
But that was good. We all have those days, and I think the thing is, we don't really realize when to reset.
Yeah, that's true. Or like when you're getting overwhelmed. And I feel like, especially if you're a working mom or a single working mom or married working mom, it don't matter. Like inevitably there's sometimes where sometimes it bleeds over. I find it hard. Like if somebody tell me, oh, that never happens. Girl, where? Yes, it does. Like, sometimes it does bleed over and you just have to be able to recognize it and move past it. Because I felt like when I had my first kid, I had so much mommy guilt about that. Like so much. And now I guess you get to the second kid and you be like, girl, do what you can, sis.
And then when you get to that third kid,
oh yeah, it's all best off. You're in love's diapers and you don't care. Go eat Cheetos for dinner.
Oh, those were good mommy meltdowns.
I mean, I think
lessons, for both of us.
So then, what are we talking about today?
All right, so I think the topic today, back to school. We got back to school, COVID, anxiety. All wrapped in one. That's a lot. COVID. So I think for me in my household, there was a lot of anxiety about going back to school, from both me and my kid. And then see, my kid transferred to a new school, so you got that extra layer of nervousness and anxiety on top of that, because it's like, I don't know anyone, I don't know the kids. And then you got the news saying that, oh, my COVID numbers are going up, and then you got the school saying, oh, we're not going to require masks. And so whether I think whether you believe that mask is good or not, like for the people who don't want to wear masks, I think they're like, oh my goodness, are they going to require us to wear masks? Yep. And then the people that want to wear masks are like, oh my goodness, why they don't, not requiring masks? So like, there's just anxiety all around, especially when it comes to our kids coming back to school. Are you seeing a lot? Like I see, of course, school just started. So I'm not seeing as many kids yet, but just in my household and talking to friends and stuff, we're all just kind of like going crazy about back to school and just praying our kids are safe. What are you seeing like in the mental health profession? Are parents talking about the anxiety with going back to school? Are they anxious? Do you see more kids being anxious about going back to school?
Oh, for sure. Like there's like a little bit of split, right? Most of the parents that I see, and I would say the ones that preferably look like me, and I truly believe that some of it is that, as we've known, the COVID numbers, they've hit minority communities much more severely than they've hit other communities. And so I have my patients are from all different backgrounds. So I got patients and the parents are like, I don't want to wear masks. They can't make my kid wear masks. And I'm like, oh, wow. I saw, it must be so frustrating for you. And then I have the other parents that like, my kids need to wear masks. I had an uncle, cousin, brother, somebody that passed from COVID. I'm worried about COVID. My kid can't get vaccinated. They're under 12. And so there's the parental anxiety, and then there's the kid anxiety. And for the kids, most of them are ready to go back in school. They miss their friends. They tired of being at home. The only kids I have that really want to stay at home are the ones who have like real bad social anxiety. And they like, I don't want to be around people. I like it this way. Or some of my kids that have OCD who have really big fears about contamination getting nervous. So those are the two that's like, I just want to stay home. Everybody else is ready to go back, but is worried about, am I going to get COVID? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to die? Are my friends going to be sick? And also then there's the parental stuff where most of the parents was like, if I can't wait till the school year come back around because I'm tired of being the teacher and the parent. And so I got moms that are out here dreading it. They like, I know they're not gonna do me like this. These kids need to go back to school. But then on the other hand, they're like, is my kid gonna be safe, because they're not requiring masks, and
Mm-hmm.
the Delta variant is it's just spreading like wildfire, and it appears to be more contagious.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
not saying that it is, but this is just kind of what is being shown, and
Right.
some of the preliminary reports from the CDC. And so then me as a healthcare provider, we're doing half telepsych, half in person, trying to make sure we're servicing people right. And sometimes it's hard to do that on the
Right.
telepsych visit for the
Right.
first visit. And parents not wanting to come in, or some parents saying, I just want to come in and I need to bring my whole family with me. Well, honey, we got some rules and regulations.
Right.
So it's just so much going on around the world. It's so many different types of anxiety. Every little family has a different story, a different
Mm-hmm.
worry, and it's just hard to bottle them up all in one. But I've been trying to just tell parents, like, take it one day at a time. First of all, go to your local official and see what the CDC. First of all, look and see what the CDC is saying in your area, because
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in Washington ain't happening in Chicago, ain't
That's
happening in
true.
Texas, and ain't happening in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to go and look and see what's going on in your area. Then go to your school official, your school website, and see what is coming out about them. What are they changing? What
Yeah.
are they doing? And you got to decide what's good for you. And sad to say, some of those districts not even offering remote learning or things like that. So if you're a district where you don't have a choice, then you make a plan around that for your kid.
Right.
know?
So I mean it's sad to say, kind of, but at the same time, I don't know. I think educators are flipped too. Like, you have the
Yeah.
side that's like, oh yeah, great, let's do, virtual learning, and then you have some of us who are like, virtual learning was a mess. We're never gonna do it.
Yeah.
But before I get to the education side, just, do you see more prescriptions for medications for specifically for anxiety during this time?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I guess, at what point would parents and people, I guess, at what point do parents need to know that my child's anxiety is getting too bad?
Right.
I need to see not just the pediatrician, I need to seek a psychiatrist. And then at what point do they say, or do you all say, okay, this child's anxiety
Need
is so
medication.
bad, they need medication? Yeah.
So it's definitely an individual case by case basis. So the first thing you have to be is, sometimes a parent has to be like a little bit in tune with their kid to know that it's anxiety. That's the kind of starts to be like that step that you already from the door. You got to get it kind of, because a lot of times, and I think we've discussed this on some of our social media posts, is that anxiety looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And parents tend to think that kid don't have no anxiety, what he got to be worried about. And that's far from the truth. Most commonly, kids worry about what you worried about. If mama look worried, kid look worried. Society look worried, kid look worried.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times kids will act out, not do things, refuse to do chores. I actually had a conversation with a kid today, and I said, little Johnny, it seems to be every time you're anxious because he's super worried about going to school, you start having defiant behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was out of school the entire year, no issues.
Mm-hmm.
We a week from school and it is popping off in the house. Okay. Mama said, I'm going to have to put him out. And so, mom at that time brought him to me because he's having behavioral issues. Is it ADHD? And it's really, I said, no, he does have ADHD, but this is all anxiety. He said, no, you're right. I mean, I just don't know. I get so anxious and I get overwhelmed and irritable and I snap at mom and then I don't want to do what she wants. So the parents have to recognize it. And then they come to my office. And a lot of times it is the behavioral issues that bring them there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to it's all about doing a thorough history, asking the right questions, doing a comprehensive assessment, and making sure you really know what's going on with a kid. Because sometimes what a parent perceives or thinks is going on is not actually what's going on in their head.
Right.
And so I have to sit down and say, okay, why did you act like that? What made you do that? What happened before that? Do you have any fears or worries? Are you not sleeping at night? All of these things that I ask, and I have to really get down, and talk to the kid on their level and figure it out. Once I figure that out, I kind of, in my mind, kind of classify it like, Is it mild? Is it moderate? How severe is it?
Right.
To me, that depends on your biological history. Because in psychiatry, we think of biopsychosocial. So, what biologically contributes? Do everybody in your family have anxiety? You know what I'm saying? Or do you have diabetes and you worry about the insulin and the sugars? Do
Mm-hmm.
you have other, issues or medical stuff that will cause you to have higher anxiety because you have just more stress and worry?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening in your lifetime? Like, psychologically, how do you see yourself? How do you fit in with your family, your peers? What are you worried about? And then, the social aspect of it. Were you bullied in school? Are there other things that you're worried about that you've
Mm-hmm.
encountered? And so I take that into account and then kind of figure out, is it mild? How much of it is it interfering with your life? If you got a kid who every time you pull up to the school, they have a headache, stomach ache, don't want to go to school, and they refusing to go to school, we might need therapy and medications. If it's something that, the kid can get to school and do things, but mom is noticing that it's really hard for them, that might be just a kid who needs therapy. And then there's some kids who I say, you need all of this. This is, you need both of these to help you get there. And I explain to them that, the medication lowers the anxiety so that you can actually function in life.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy gives you the skills so that over time throughout your life, you don't have to keep going back to the medication. You could actually use the skills and manage it. But oftentimes people need both. And then I have to decide like what school interventions a kid might need. Because there are some kids who have anxiety and I'm writing letters and stuff to go to the school. And so that's a question I think I had to ask for you too, because sometimes I have to call you and say like, what is it that a school can do? Like I know a little bit of things about giving breaks and making sure they have a hall pass, like if they get overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I even write medications and I say, this medication is not an everyday medication. I'm going to send you a letter to the nurse, but if you get overwhelmed and stimulated, this is your rescue medication. Because sometimes kids function better just knowing I got a rescue. They may not ever use it, but knowing that it's there in case they get panicked.
Right.
So for you, like, what do you see in the schools? Because I just be writing letters to y'all and just be hoping and praying y'all do.
Man, all you doctors and knowing y'all be writing letters. No.
What do you say? I'm sorry.
Okay, so wait, so let me back up. So it's safe to say that if the anxiety is interfering with the quality of life, they can't do the things that they would normally do. That's when you would suggest that parents go seek a psychiatrist or a mental health professional to go get some help. But if you notice that your child is having anxiety and you want to get on top of it and they don't feel like talking to you, or they would do well talking to a counselor or a therapist, then don't be afraid to seek out that help.
No, don't do it
for a younger child. Okay. Yeah. So for the education side of things, especially like when you talk about a child, their quality of life being affected, and it really does come into play at school. We've had a lot of kids who, like you said, they're always sick. Like they always have to go to the nurse. And there's nothing. Is it safe to? Can I say there's nothing physically wrong? Yeah, okay. So I was just trying to make sure that was the medical term. So there's nothing like physically wrong, but mentally they are struggling, which cause them to believe they're having these physical ailments, or sometimes I guess making excuses. Would you consider it an excuse? Does it make your stomach hurt? I guess that's the question.
Right. Well, this is the thing. I don't like to use the word excuse only because it seems like there's malicious intent. Now, are there kids who do have a malicious intent and trying to get out of a test or whatever? Yes. But the majority of kids that I see with what I call school avoidance or like anxiety in school, they truly feel like their stomach is hurting, or it's not really hurting, but because your body is all in alignment, right? It's all connected. So there are times where they feel like they are nauseous. They have to throw up. They got diarrhea. And
and that makes sense, because when I get anxious, my stomach, it feels like somersaults.
Yeah.
It's like butterflies. I might have to go to the bathroom. Right. So, that makes sense. But I will say, and I say excuse because I'm guilty, mainly as a parent.
What you doing?
No, I'm saying when a child is like, "Oh, my stomach hurt," but I know it's because he doesn't want to do something. Like there might be something big coming up that he's nervous about. So I'm like, stop making excuses. So I guess I'll stop saying that. But okay, going back to the education side of things, when their anxiety is affecting the quality of life, there are things that we can do. And a lot of times, there are school psychologists that can do kind of those emotional assessments. And actually, we just had an evaluation where the mom was concerned that the child had ADHD. And the school psychologist kind of came back and said, this is not ADHD, this is more anxiety, and it's manifesting itself more in like being the fidgeting and some of those symptoms you would automatically think is ADHD,
right?
But it was more anxiety. And so for him, there were, like you said, breaks put in place, small group instruction. So he was already receiving special education services, so he was able to kind of get that particular subject area. I think at the time it was, I want to say writing, because usually writing is the one thing that most of our kids have anxiety about. In being able to get small group instruction in those areas, and parents don't know about that. Like that makes a huge difference when you're not in a classroom of 25 plus kids, and you can, even if it's not for a whole hour or for a whole hour and a half, you can just get 15 to 20 minutes, because with another teacher, with just a group of 3, because the child feels more comfortable asking questions. It kind of minimizes that anxiety of even talking out loud and having to talk in front of people or letting people know, oh, this is my struggle. So I think that's one of the main things. But again, in education, there's a teacher shortage. So we talk about small group instruction, and yes, best practices. That is one of the accommodations that I think it's great when available. But I mean, other things are, other than the breaks, sometimes, and I know this sounds more sensory, but sometimes just those heavy work breaks, just like, carrying backpacks to a backpack of books to the office and back, or bear crawling. I mean, sometimes it's just that physical, that need to get some of that, it's that physical input. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? I think that helps kind of calm the kids.
You're trying to, like, it's kind of like going to the gym, like you're releasing endorphins and decrease. You're giving that anxiety somewhere to go that's physical instead of sitting there waiting on it. Because mindfulness is like one of them techniques that it takes a while to develop, and it's hard for a kid to meditate and do all that at first.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And I think people, when they hear, let's give kids with anxiety activities like that, they think sensory needs.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that correlation. It's like when you need to go to the gym, or you need to go running, you got to let off some steam, or you need to go swimming because you need to let out. It's the same thing. We had a kid.
What, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you were saying that. So the school inputs is there. They do have breaks. Doing the physical activities are helpful as well.
Yes, I mean, of course, like you said, it depends on the kid, and also depends on what services your child can get. You don't have to be in special education to get some of these accommodations. It's just a matter of talking to the counsel. Sometimes it's the counselor, just talking to the counselor or the assistant principal or the principal. Some schools have intervention specialists. Talking to those people and saying, here's what my child needs, what services are available to my child. And
so start with the counselor.
Start with, I would say start with the teacher.
Okay.
Because the teacher knows the setup of the school and who's running those response to interventions, that process. But also the teacher knows your child. And there might be some things that the teacher can do without you having to put it going through this whole long process. There are accommodations that teachers do naturally too. So there might also be some things that the teacher is doing that you might not know about, because It's natural. And it's especially when you have a kid who's switching classes and you notice that they're doing better in one class than they do in another class. It could be that one teacher that they're doing good, that class they're doing good in, that teacher is naturally putting in some accommodations that she knows about. And we get into meetings all the time when it's multiple teachers, and a teacher would say, "Oh yeah, I do XYZ," and we're like, "You do now?" All of you all need to do that, like so. And then and the other teachers are willing. They're like, "Oh, is that why he acts good in your class, or is that why he doesn't cry? Because he's always crying in my writing class." Well, we know writing brings him anxiety, so let's do some activities have some accommodations to help him with those.
Okay, I have a question, Ms. Palmer, because this is the other thing that I found with the parents when I'm trying to tell them, okay, you need to go to school, you need to get this. Every district is not equivalent. So who they have is not like, there's some districts who may have a lot more funding. So they may have a myriad of people to do this. But what I found in some districts, especially people that look like us, is that some of those districts don't have the same thing in place, and parents are struggling to try to locate that person and what to do and what to have. So oftentimes I'm sending them, hey, you need to go to this organization because they do, they help advocate for you and they kind of know what's going on. But then other times, for parents who may not be as savvy, like what should I be telling them to do then?
I think it goes back to, yes, you can have someone advocate for you, but I think it always goes back to the teacher. There's not too many teachers that I've met that are not willing to try to help the child. Like when teachers don't get paid, they're not in it for the money.
They show money.
Most of them are in it because they really do care about the well-being of the child. And I know teachers are overwhelmed, but I think communication is key. When your child is struggling with something, I kind of dealt with this with my child. Like sometimes, especially in the Black community, you don't want to put on paper what's really happening with your child because you feel like they're going to judge your child or they're going to give your child a label, which there's no labels. Even in special education, there's no labels. There are diagnoses or disabilities to help your child meet their potential or do their very best. But I think we struggle a lot with being honest with our teachers and, even saying this is what's happening at home. If you get a divorce or that there's something happening in your house, dad's gone, he got deployed, grandma just died. Those things affect children. And so just shooting a teacher an email that says, hey, this is going on in my home. If you notice some different behaviors with my child, please let me know. It also keys the teacher in. So when there's a behavior problem that is not typical for that child, they know what's going on and they can be a little bit more, not even lenient, but more compassionate, more empathetic. They can know how to handle it better. But so I say, always start with the teacher. Always start with the teacher. Be honest with them, communicate with them, right? And then you can do your research. Talk to your psychiatrist, talk to your doctor, look it up, you can go to ask the teacher, what are some things, do you know of some things that can help? Or can you email me some people who can give me ideas to help?
Gotcha.
Now, if your teacher doesn't respond and if your teacher says, oh, I don't know, then try your counselor, try your principal.
This is going to lead me down a rabbit hole because I really need your help on this. So I got questions because, oftentimes parents will come in my office and they'll be like, that teacher don't want to do no work. They not told Johnny, da, 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 da. And my biggest thing to them is that I will say this is, you need her on your team or you need him on your team. So sometimes I feel like parents do underscore the value of having a relationship with the teacher. It's the same thing, right? As having a relationship like with my kids, the friends mom that my kid have. Like I know what's going on with my kid, and I know what's going on with the friend because I have a relationship with that little girl's mom, and we kick it together. So I'm much more involved on what's going on, and she's clued into my kid, and I'm clued into her, and we both can spot things. And sometimes I feel like you said, because I will be trying to figure out a kid, and then I call up and I'm talking to the teacher, and the teacher don't know nothing about what's going on, and I don't know nothing about what the I said, he did what, ma'am? Clear the what? Okay. And so I do feel like, especially people, that maybe minorities like have a hesitancy to, what goes in the house stays in the house.
Yeah.
And it just bites you in the butt. But how, like, what should I be telling parents as far as engaging your teacher and getting your teacher? Like, the school year has started, right? This is the first time we may be online or in person. How are we, like, what should I be telling parents? How do you develop that relationship with your teacher?
So personally, because here's the thing, I think, when you have parents that say, oh, that teacher don't do, they do have like 20 some other kids in their class. Don't get me wrong. They can't read your emails all day, every day. So have some grace, and they don't get paid a lot. So buy them some coffee and some lunch every now and then. But for me, like a lot of times at the beginning of the year, some teachers might do a get to know you. So they might ask the parent questions about your child. But be honest when they do that. And if they don't do that, I think that's the first thing. At the beginning of the year, go ahead and send them an email and say, hey, Johnny is excited to be in your classroom. I've heard some great things about him. Just wanted you to know that Johnny's favorite color is this. He loves dinosaurs and soccer and this. He has trouble with writing, but he does very well in reading. Go ahead and give them a summary of, your child. Go ahead and give them a summary of their child because they're getting to know them at the beginning of the year, and I think checking in every now and then, not being overbearing, but checking in and, just wanted to say, I hope you have a great week. I know you all are doing a lot. If you need anything, please let me know. And if there's anything additional I can do at home to help Johnny, please feel free to contact me. Just leaving that door open, that communication open. And I know we got to wrap it up, but I think the main thing that I would leave and say, especially with going back to school and a child having, like, if you have a child with anxiety, is to talk to the teacher. Like, be open with the teacher. Go ahead and tell the teacher, even if the anxiety is not diagnosed, go ahead and tell the teacher, these are the behaviors that I have seen when my child was doing virtual learning. Because that's good information to know. Is my child doing this in person learning like he was in virtual learning? Like, you're getting to know your child. As a parent, we're always just learning our kids. And the more we're communicating with the people who have our kids the most, the teacher, when school go back in, the teacher's going to see them more than you. If you're starting to communicate with them, I think you can make leaps and bounds in, not only knowing your child, but also making sure you get the resources that are needed to help your child. What would your last
home points be? I would say really sit down. Number one, check your own anxiety before you go and talk to your kid about it, because a kid can tell if a parent is anxious about something, and kids feed all of us. So make sure you cool, calm, collected. You kind of, got yourself together, and then ask questions, open-ended questions. How are you feeling about going back to school? Anything you worried about? What are you worried? Go and see what your local principalities or municipalities are doing, and your school system is doing, and then you plan accordingly to that. If I'm going to be, going to school, okay, well, what does Johnny need? Johnny needs his mask. He needs his own water bottle, and he needs things that will keep him safe. If he's super anxious, do I need to talk to a school official about it? And I'm really big on the toolkit. Like, I legit love you having your own toolkit of things you can take around. squishy balls. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if a kid, you know, likes to write or something and they have a period of time where they could to scribble or crayon or something, or things that would be approved that wouldn't get them in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
little hand spray hand sanitizers. You know, that might be something. And making sure if your kid needs emergency meds at school that they have that. In addition to that, I do agree with communicating with the teacher, making sure you have a plan, and allowing your kid to be a part of what their toolbox is.
Oh, that's
You know,
good.
engage them in it. Don't pick it out for them and say, this is what you're going to use. You know, you have to engage your kid because you want them to be, and I'm big on this too, problem solver. Your kid needs to be able to problem solve their own stuff and do it with you. You guide them and show them how to do it. And then you help create a toolbox and you say, listen, mommy's worried too, but we're going to get through this together. Okay. It's okay. And, you know, I know XYZ happened and we've had a couple of years, and then check in with other parents. Have yourself a support system so y'all worry together and all y'all keeping y'all children safe together. And I think by doing that, you know, you just feel like you have a sense of community. You have a plan for your family and you have a plan for your community. And I think generally things will go well.
That's good, because that leads us into our last segment, which is the question, a question that someone has emailed us or messaged us. And
Mm-hmm.
so her question was, I'm looking down at the question. Her son has been a virtual learner for all of last year
Mm-hmm.
plus that half year, and so her child is going back to school and is having a lot of anxiety. He
Mm-hmm.
used to love school, and now he's having a lot of anxiety about going back to school. So we kind of talked about this, but she also says that she has anxiety about him going back, and she has her own anxiety just about what's going on in the world right now. But she says that she cannot afford to do, like, go to a psychiatrist or go to a counselor for
Mm-hmm.
therapy. So what should she do?
Mm.
Well, first of all, if
Mm.
you have health insurance, check with your health insurance to
Yeah.
see if they offer a certain amount of mental health visits for free.
Or your employer.
Or your
Most
employer.
employers, they
Yes.
offer like 12 free visits,
Yes.
which you could do a lot in 12 visits if it's a good person. Like
Mhm.
you can like that's classic CBT right there.
So I think that's the first thing for mom. I
Mm-hmm.
think the other thing is to take a step back, and you kind of hinted on this. I have liked to use the phrase control the controllable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, there's certain things you can't control. And so, it's hard with the person has anxiety. It's hard to actually say, hey, control the controllable.
Right.
But maybe making a list of the things you can control and the list of the things you can't control, and then letting your child see that for himself. They make a list too,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of help them as a visual, and then talk to the teacher and let the teacher know what's going on with your child as well, because the teacher could
Right.
really help your child feel comfortable, and make an extra effort to say, hey. And I've seen teachers actually say this: that's something we cannot control, but what can we control?
Right.
Because it goes into their behaviors too, because we say, oh, but you can't control his behavior, but you can
Mm-hmm.
control your behavior. So that's my tip.
The other thing is, you know, there are a couple of books, and this maybe we should, you know, have some resources because there's some things that you can do that you're not being a psychiatrist, you're not being a therapist, but that you may find help with, like in some of like resources online and workbooks that you can do, you know, with yourself or with your kid. That's not trying to make you into a therapist, but that are helpful for you, you know. And so there's this book called Anxiety Relief for Kids that I use all the time. That's really good and has some real life steps and kind of helps you think through things too. And so yeah, I definitely think that you should try your employer, try try also your insurance company. But sometimes the schools, depending on your school district, may have little things that they can do, like some schools do social skills training, or some schools are associated with, they have a existing kind of relationship with mental health providers
Yep.
come to the school as well.
Or
And so
they
I'll
have,
look into that, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they have them connected where if they're not at the school, you can go see them after hours. And most districts are now, well, I know in Texas, or is this federal? I have to look this up, but Texas is required to do social emotional learning objectives. And so they are like all of so all of the schools are incorporating those into their curriculum some type of way.
Gotcha.
So that's another thing. Just check out your schools. And look, I don't know if my list was good. Psychiatrist, was my list good? Like, I like it.
Yeah, I think those are helpful things to do, and figuring out what you can control and what you cannot control. You know, and the stuff that you can control, take it one step at a time. You can't, what is it? You can't bite an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One step at a time.
One bite at a time.
You trying to take everything all at once and put it together. That's not going to work. Okay. You know, realistically.
I think I heard a psychologist. I think I got that from a psychologist. So,
okay, girlfriend.
I got my honorary MD.
Oh, you got one, honey. You got one.
Oh, but yes, we enjoyed talking to you all today. And so our goal, we just hope that you all are able to get back to school and have an amazing, amazing school year. Make those connections with your teachers, control the controllable, and seek some mental health professionals if necessary.
Yep. Thank you, guys. See you